Tom Ellsworth, the BizDoc, and classic case studies are back from Valuetainment. I'm here and I'm breaking out the old Formula One shirts. You remember when I used to do them? These are F1 shirts. I get them from teams. I've been getting them for 20 years. I got quite the rotation, but that's what's up with that. But what's up here? The first case study we're going to dive into is the burger wars. McDonald's, Wendy's in the news. Why those two? Well, it's because they're number one and number two. And number one just had record profits, is doing well when Americans want affordability. And number two is closing stores. We have the whole story. Let's bite into burgers this week. McDonald's and Wendy's, number one and number two, in the news for different reasons. McDonald's crushed the earnings report, put up $7 billion for a single quarter. Absolutely amazing. Number two, not so much. But let's take a look at just how much McDonald's dominates. Same-store sales are up, the highest since 2023, which is amazing. They're diving into value with the U.S. consumer, and Wendy's is closing stores. Let's take a look at this pie chart. McDonald's is 54% of the revenue of the top 10. The rest, 46%. Take a look at that. The others combined. Next, the growth is what tells a story. When you look on this chart and you look at all 10 burger chains, two things are clear. One of them, McDonald's is the leader by a long shot, and the only one whose little bar was red that didn't grow over year and actually shrank, Wendy's. Everyone else was level or growing at least a little bit. Look at the top 10. When fast food is an alternative to fast casual like Chili's or Red Robin's, that's where McDonald's and fast food wins. Americans are looking to fast food when budgets are tight and affordability is tighter. I'm going to dive into this chart now and take you through it. But take a look here. Look at number two. Number one is in a league of their own. I'll go through the numbers in a second. But look at Wendy's and Burger King. $11.9 billion versus $11.3 billion for all of 2025. How close are Wendy's and Burger King? Look at this chart. This clearly shows you how once upon a time it was a $2 billion difference for Wendy's and Burger King, but that has been closing up. And look where it is now. How close is it? Is it going to shift? Take a look at this chart. If this keeps up this year, the lines will cross and Burger King will be number two. Not because they blew it through the roof, but because they just kept growing enough and Wendy's died. Look at that. There will be a new number two. Now, before we go into a masterclass on McDonald's and the era of Wendy's, I want to talk a little bit about this chart. Take a look. Tier one at $57 billion. McDonald's in a league of their own. 13,600 locations, $4.2 million per location, grew 6.5% for the year. Wendy's, 11.9, about to get passed by Burger King, as we just showed on that other chart. But Wendy's has got fewer locations, 5,969 for Wendy's, 6,624 for Burger King. Wendy's actually does more per location, 2 million versus 1.7. But look how they're shrinking together. Are they going to swap in 2026? You saw the chart. I think they're going to swap. But now you drop down to the tier three. Sonic, Dairy Queen, Whataburger, Jack in the Box, and Culver's. This is the 5 million club, 4.5 to 5 million. Then you really kind of have Culver's by themselves in the 4 million club, followed by Five Guys and In-N-Out down here, 2.4, 2.3 billion. But I want to show you something. Five Guys, In-N-Out, and Whataburger are beloved at levels that America doesn't understand. If you go to Texas and take a look at Whataburger, they turn out 3.8 million per location. Look at the comparison. Only McDonald's is bigger, but bigger than that, if you're from California and you've ever sat at line for In-N-Out, In-N-Out with only 430 locations does 2.3 billion a year and 5.3 million per location. Look at that. And they grew 4.5% this year. So Culver's, In-N-Out, Whataburger, and McDonald's. The only ones growing besides McDonald's at that level of growth are the boutiques, the ones that are beloved with the yellow asterisk there. It's amazing. When you take a look at how many locations they have and what's going on, and then you can see the red dots where people just don't have a lot per location. Five Guys operates like in strip malls and things like that. Just a boutique, good burger. If you like it, and you go and you eat the peanuts where you went in line. Very, very cool stuff. But I look at all this and I call it T-Rex versus the cavemen, 1 versus 2. But there you have it. That's the playing field of burgers. There is one number one, and in modern day time, we would call that tier 0. There is no tier 1. We go from tier 0 to tier 2. And tier 2 is going to be swapping. That is the playing field. That is where the growth is coming from. And that is the burger war in 2025. Now let's go into what McDonald's did to win back customers and to drive hard. Here's what McDonald's did right. They looked at consumer data and saw low-income traffic was collapsing and made a bold move for the $5 meal deal. Not just any promotion, mind you, they made it a permanent fixture. Here's the kicker. McDonald's absorbed part of the cost to win back the sensitive customers. They accepted a little less profit on that $5 meal deal. That's rare, but that's what they did. The $5 deal includes the McDouble, as you see here, McChicken, small fries, 4-piece McNuggets, and a drink. Then they doubled down an extra value meal with $15 discounts on the combos and brought back a thing they called snack wrap. They went all in on value, and CEO Chris Kempczynski said on the earnings call, there is growing evidence that our value strategy worked to bring back the low-income customers. In other words, it was a strategic decision at the end of 2024 to bring back the value meal and the value strategy to bring back the low-income customers that had stepped away after COVID, when people had very tight budgets. Well, affordability is still an issue, and to win back the low-income customers, they went to the value meal with these changes, holding tight at $5. Not only did that happen, they brought in people that were going to Chili's or Red Robin for lunch during the week, and those people then came back to McDonald's as well. So now you have McDonald's focusing on the customer with offers and jumping into gear starting at the end of 24 and running it all the way through 25. The result? Growth. So McDonald's intentional strategy to win back value customers throughout 2025, and it worked. Wendy's, it flips the script entirely. Wendy's actually stopped advertising late in 2024. They were worried about what was happening and they tried to cut some costs. They also ended up in a situation where same-store sales were down 8.3% internationally, everywhere they are, but in the US, they were down 11.3%. Horrifying. They saw things happening but didn't do anything about it. And their CEO at the time, Kirk Tanner, said we intentionally pulled back on marketing in Q4 24 and saved on the budget. Wait, what? At a time where America needed affordability and a competitor was revving up on value, you went silent in the market? They did. Then in 2025, they focused on what had always been the Wendy's signature, which was freshness. It's fresh and it's high quality ingredients. Way back when, literally 40 years ago, you can go back and find the little old lady that was in these commercials that said, "Where's the beef?" saying that they had a bigger patty and there was more protein and more beef there in your burger. And she was everywhere going, "Where's the beef?" And it showed these buns opening up with little tiny burgers on them to emphasize that Wendy was giving you beef, fresh cut tomatoes, lettuce. So there was a time that they ran it and they drove it, and that's why they're number 2. That's why they had less locations than Burger King, but they had greater sales. So instead, the whole calamity at the end of the year, they get nowhere. They turned to value and tried to do things late in the year, but before they could do that, Tanner quits and he heads off to Hershey's. Here's a picture of him from Hershey's PR smiling, probably happy that he's left Burger King. Then in mid-year, it's July 2025, Tanner is left to go to Hershey's. They say Ken Cook will be interim CEO while maintaining his duties as CFO. I hope this works out. I don't know the guy, but I'll tell you, if he was part of the decision to turn off the advertising at the end of 24, I don't know. But there hasn't been any announcement of a new CEO at Wendy's as of this hour. And so without a CEO and a search going underway for an incredibly tough job, hey, who wants to be a turnaround artist, to be CEO of number 2 Wendy's, who's about to be passed by Burger King, who's tried to find its way, who's just had a horrible time and is closing stores? Take a look at this chart. 2024, they closed 240 stores. 2025, they announced they're closing 350. You know what that is? 590 stores. Whoops, 10% of the size of Wendy's has been closed in the last 2 years. Now you want to take a tough job, turn around that, come back there, see if you can restore glory. It's going to be a tough job to find somebody to take what is a very tough job in Burgerland. And you know what? Sometimes bad things happen when people are given tough jobs. Like, take a look at this guy. The American voters elected to give him a really tough job, and he did the worst job ever. So be careful. Leadership matters. So words talk, but numbers scream. You know I like to say that. Let's take a look at what the stock market, because that's the scoreboard for America's companies. Take a look at this chart. This shows the percent change in the stocks during the year. As you can see, Wendy's lost 50.8% of its value, from around $16 to $8 and something. Meanwhile, McDonald's went up over 13% over the course of the year. Guess what? McDonald's manages to get traction and raise the stock even 13%. It didn't go to the moon like Nvidia, but it went up, and they were able to drive based on their success. That's part one. Part two is stock price is driven by earnings per share. Look at this chart. It's stark. McDonald's over $3 a share, and Wendy's 16 cents a share. Well, guess what? Now, earnings per share and stock price, what does that point to? Enterprise value. Well, EPS drives share price drives market cap. Guess what? Here we are. McDonald's, $239 billion in market cap. Wendy's sitting here at $1.4 to $1.5 billion in market cap. That's where it is sank to. And that is the outcome of 2025. Now let's look at the lessons for you and me. We don't have to be a giant burger chain, and we don't have to be Nvidia. But you know what we could be? A t-shirt maker in Berlin or a software maker with 5 buddies in Miami. All of these lessons can be applied to us. It's just on our scale. There's always something to learn. So let's take a look at the lessons. Number one, speed versus perfection. Wendy's was talking about going back to their freshness and the quality of their food at a time where America is reaching into their wallet and seeing less. Speed to deliver an alternative for America is what McDonald's delivered. So never deliver crap, never deliver imperfect products, but speed versus waiting for the perfect marketing campaign, the perfect everything. There will always be a new rev to your software. Choose speed versus perfection, but be very, very maniacal about the quality. Second, during downturns, take share. Downturns are an opportunity. It was once said that Warren Buffett described rain or a tough economy this way. When I hear that it's raining, I don't look for an umbrella. I run outside with wash tubs. You can collect market share during downturns. That's what McDonald's did. They gave up a little margin, but they didn't give up and make it a losing proposition to lose stock price. And what did they get? More growth than everybody else. Not Nvidia or software growth, but more than everybody else. And they're growing and adding stores when Wendy's is closing 10% of them. So take share during downturns. Invest a little bit. Be clever. Put more time in. Run tougher cycle times. Whatever you need to do to take share during a downturn, there's an opportunity when everybody else is being fearful. Sometimes you can be out and be bold. Not careless, not clumsy, not foolish, but bold nonetheless. Next, value. There's perceptions and realities about value. McDonald's is delivering the value meal, and the perception was that there's a lot of value at McDonald's when most of the things on the menu hadn't changed in price, because McDonald's was kind of stuck like everybody else with the cost of bread, the cost of pickles, the cost of meat, all things like that, the cost of labor. Whereas they created the perception of value, we're bringing you value, and the reality was there was value on the menu on those items we described, and they did bring back the $5 menu. It was literally there, but there's also the perception that McDonald's and value was sticking in the mind of the consumer. So when you deliver value and you understand what it means to be perceived as high quality, it doesn't have to be a $20 burger to be perceived as a quality product that delivers value. That's what McDonald's did. The reality was there, but they also melded it with the perception that value was what they were all about on a more broader basis. Finally, cost versus investment. If you just see marketing as a cost and just turned it off at the end of 2024 like Wendy's did, you're fearfully putting back. Now, if you've got budget problems, you've got big crisis, you may have to do that. Wendy decided to do that, and they saw it as a cost. McDonald's saw an opportunity to invest in the low-end customers with a value message that brought them back in, that brought them to have lunch versus Red Robin and versus Chili's. Guess what? It worked. The big big headline is for small businesses: think, research, be aware, and always be the one that acts versus react. When you're reacting, someone is moving on you. When you're acting, they have to move because of you. Act versus react. It's a mindset, and it's easier to do than you might think if you keep wide eyes on the playing field and you know your customer so that you're ready to put the realities of the economy's raining, things are tougher, what's happening, to deliver what you need to deliver, because I know my customers and I know what they're feeling and I know what I'm going to be doing today. That's this week's case study. It's great to be back, and it's great to have you back. If you like what you see and you've got an idea for a company or product or something, leave a comment below. We read all the comments, even the bad ones. And until next time, I want you to know that if you like the way we break this down and you'd like us to break down your business, look no further than Bet David Consulting. You can find Bet David Consulting at the link below, betdavid.com. We have a variety of educational and information tools, conferences, masterminds to connect you to solutions for your business, because we have been there. The scars on your back match the scars on our back because we've actually operated business. We know what we're talking about, and we're ready to help you grow, help you structure, help you prepare for a sale, or scale this year when everybody else maybe is taking it a little too careful. We are here to empower, entertain, and enlighten entrepreneurs and leaders around the world just like you. So when you'd like an opinion, you'd like a perspective, it's okay to ask. Go to betdavid.com, look at the 5x5 matrix, compare that to where your business is, and see if we can help you. Until next time, I'm Tom Ellsworth, the BizDoc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.